it's Jessie here. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Today's video is going to be the budget for the second paycheck in the month of December. I have already written everything out and we are all set and ready to go, so let's just go ahead and go over these numbers. So this is the paycheck my husband will receive on December 8th. Second paycheck of the month. We're going to talk about the bills and expenses for the week and what I plan to put towards sinking funds and cash envelopes and debt. So without further ado, this should be a pretty quick video. Let's get started. So I'm going to zoom you guys in a little tiny bit, and we're going to start talking about grocery and household. But before I do that, I'm actually going to make a little small change to my budget. I initially had planned to budget $50 for grocery and household, but I noticed while I was starting to write up my grocery list right before this that I'm actually out of a few household items like dishwasher detergent and a few other things that I think are going to drive my bill up a little tiny bit. So I'm just going to make a small adjustment here. We're going to budget $75 for groceries instead. So, there you go. Grocery and household, $75. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that usually I budget $175 a week, but a couple of weeks ago I did a huge shop and I'm pretty well stocked up on quite a bit. So I don't think I'm going to have to spend nearly that. Thought I was going to be able to get away with 50, but really I think it's going to be closer to 75. And I don't want to under budget and then have to scramble. So we're just going to up it a little tiny bit to 75. That's the beauty of these erasable pens from Parkoo. If you change your mind or you make a mistake, you can just erase and start again. So $75 for grocery and household items. Next up, I have Netflix. So we are going to pay all of our streaming services this week. These are not all of my monthly bills, by the way, just the bills that fall within this pay period, the due dates. So these are the ones we're going to pay with this income, so this is why it's in my week 2 budget. So for Netflix, I budgeted $16. And actually, now that I think about it, I think that's going to come in less than that because I forgot that I changed up our Netflix subscription a little bit to try to save a few dollars, but I'll just leave it at 16. We'll come back at the actuals at the end and figure that out. You guys will see that if you watch next week's budget results video, so make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss that video. Next up, we have Hulu, and for Hulu I've budgeted $7. I do have the bundle package with Hulu and Disney Plus and ESPN, although we don't ever watch ESPN, or at least I don't. Maybe my son does. He's into sports, but regardless, $7 for Hulu, $6 then for Disney Plus. Next we have our DTE bill, which is our electricity provider. $212 I have budgeted for that. Also, we're going to pay our gas bill this week, so that we have budgeted $40 for. And lastly, we're going to make a camper payment. My husband and I own a beautiful camper that we spend practically every weekend in all summer. It sits on a campsite that we pay for annually. Right now, it's winterized and just in storage, but I cannot wait for spring to roll around so we can get back to our camping trips. Anyways, we pay $200 a month for our camper. And I just realized that I neglected to add up these totals, so I'm just going to pull in my calculator really quickly and we will add these up together. So we have 75 plus 16 plus 7 plus 6 plus 212 plus 40 plus 200 for a grand total of 556. That seems low. Let me try that again. 75 plus 16 plus 7 plus 6 plus 212 plus 40 plus 200. Oh, it's 556. So guess we're just spending a little less in bills this week, which is just fine. All right, next up we have our cash envelopes, and our cash envelopes are always the same. I might be mixing things up a little tiny bit in my budgets starting in the new year, but this has been working out really well for us, so maybe not. Either way, I budget $40 for each of our cash categories. This is money that I will pull out of the bank and keep in cash in my cash envelopes in my conscious wallet. And the categories that we are going to use this cash for are my husband's spending, so he'll get $40, my personal spending, gasoline for my Subaru, eating out money, and miscellaneous expenses. So all of this, $40 each, for a total of $200 going to my cash envelopes. Next up, I have my sinking funds. Sinking funds are the number one thing that I have done with my budgeting that has made a humongous difference for us. Before we started sinking funds, whenever something would come up and it was not a regular expense, so something that happened, just quarterly or annually, or something that came up unexpected, like a car repair, we would scramble to find that money in our budget. And more often than not, we didn't have it in our budget and we would swipe a credit card for it. And so what we have done now is created sinking funds. We put a little bit of money aside throughout the year. We barely even miss it, $20 here, $10 there. But we set it aside for these things that inevitably come up, and that way when they come up, we're prepared for them. Who'da thunk it? It's genius. Why we weren't doing this before, I don't know, but this has been a game changer in our budget. I have almost 20 sinking funds. I'm not going to list them here because it would take forever, for one, and for two, I'm going to do a whole separate video at some point about what my sinking funds are and why I chose those sinking funds and whatnot. But as you can see here, I am not putting money into 20 different sinking funds. I just pick and choose the ones that are most relevant and most important this week. So I might save for totally different funds next week. It just depends on what our goals are for the week and what our budget looks like. This week I'm putting aside a total of $200 into sinking funds, and that $200 is getting separated into these various categories. So my husband and I have our anniversary at the end of March. I don't know if anything's going to be open or if we're going to be able to do a huge celebration, but we at the very least want to be able to have a nice dinner together. So I'm going to start saving a little bit of money here and there between now and the end of March so that we can do that. This week we're going to set aside $25, and that's going to go right into an envelope, or not into an envelope, rather into an accordion folder here, which I keep all of our sinking funds in. I like to do our sinking funds in cash. You don't have to do them in cash. You can leave them in a bank if that's how you want to do it. Each of my sinking funds has a tab here. As you can see, one of them is anniversary. So when I take the money out of the bank, that will get put behind this tab in my accordion folder, and we'll start saving for celebrating our anniversary. And you guys will see me stuff my cash envelopes if you watch that video, which will be up, I believe, on Friday. So once again, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so you can catch that video, as well as all of my other budgeting and lifestyle content. Also have Vlogmas in full swing on my channel here for this month, so that's a new day in the life vlog every single day from now until Christmas, plus my other content. So lots and lots of videos happening in December here. Alright, so we talked about anniversary. Next thing we're going to save for is birthdays. All three of my favorite people in the entire world have birthdays in January. That's my husband and our two sons. My oldest son will be 18 on January 8th. My younger son will be 13 on the 13th. It's his golden birthday. Is that what they call that? January 13th. And then my husband will be turning 40 the end of January on January 31st. So lots of celebrations happening in January, so I want to put aside some money now so that we're not scrambling for it later. So we're going to put $50 into our birthdays fund. Next up is campground. I told you guys we have a beautiful camper. sits on a site we pay for annually. It's a big chunk of change. It's like $1,400, which is a steal of a deal for the amenities that we get to enjoy and the storage for the camper. It's a great price, but it's still $1,400, and $1,400 is a lot of money if you don't have it set aside. So we're going to set $50 aside towards that goal. Car maintenance is an Car maintenance is a fund that we are going to be adding to forever, because you just never know when you're going to need to make repairs to your vehicle. And then, of course, there's the regular maintenance, windshield wipers, oil changes, that sort of thing. Plus, we have our annual car tag renewal, which will happen at the end of January with my husband's birthday. So we include money for that in our car maintenance fund. So that's something that we add to almost every week, and we're adding, $25 to that with this paycheck. And lastly, I have home maintenance, which we're going to add $50 to as well. So that's a total of $200, as I mentioned, that we'll take out of the bank and we will put into these various sinking funds. Next is extra debt. Every single week I aim to pay $150 towards our debt. We do use the debt snowball method, which is a Dave Ramsey principle. We like some of Dave Ramsey's ideas and we don't like others, but that's one that we do, and so we're using the debt snowball method to pay down our debt. We have paid off a handful of credit cards already. We still have a handful of credit cards left to go, but we like to make progress on our debt on a weekly basis, and so we aim to send at least $150 towards our debt. I haven't budgeted anything extra, but if we can find some extra money from this budget at the end of the week, for example, if we spend less than $75 that I budgeted here in groceries, if we only spend $60, then that other $15 will go towards an extra debt payment. So while I don't budget anything in addition to our debt snowball payment, I still like to have it as a line item here so that I have some place to put that should we find some extra money to throw at that debt. So we're going to at least send $150 to our lowest credit card, which is a Lowe's credit card that we used to buy a new washer and dryer back in October. So we are trying to pay that off before the interest kicks in. We had like a 6-month zero interest thing. As long as we pay it within the 6 months, we won't have to pay interest. So I'm hoping to get that card paid off this month. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm hopeful. And that's it, because we don't have anything to extra savings, so we're just going to go ahead and cross that off. That is a look at our budget for the second week in December. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think we're going to be able to stick to this budget, so hopefully we do. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd love it if you would take a minute and click the little thumbs up button. It really helps me out. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!